All right. Hi. This is Zac Shipley with the Level Up Real Estate team in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm here with David, who is out of Dallas, Texas. David, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Thank you for having me here.
All right, awesome. So I just want to take a couple minutes to talk to you about what it's like in your market. What are the struggles you're seeing? What's the great things that you're having success with? I bet you're a bit like me to start, like you see like things like marriages and babies driving most moves, but what is your daily hustle like? Are you just what are you chasing?
I mean, so what we're seeing a lot of here is a lot of folks are kind of relocating from other areas when they're coming in to buy. We're also seeing a lot of sellers relocating elsewhere. A lot of my sellers recently have been relocating for whether it's retirement purposes or whether I've got one they're moving out of Dallas proper and they're going to Pittsburgh because the boyfriend's building a new home up there. So we're seeing a lot of folks who are leaving and a lot of folks coming in. There's not many that I've seen recently who are buying and selling, and then just moving elsewhere in the metroplex. A lot of folks are kind of relocating in or out, which has been, I think, quite a change over the past few years. I think our team's been here since '86, so I've been getting kind of historical context from the in-laws and whatnot. And back in the day, it was very much all they did was sell and buy. But
so you don't see much of that, someone like moving out of their starter home and moving up to a bigger house or downsizing.
We're seeing some of that, but it's almost becoming more common now for it to be just a single side transaction, which would be a lot nicer if everyone was doing a dual side. But yeah, it's a lot of people coming in and a lot of people coming out.
And how tight is inventory there? Do you have like plenty to go around, or do you
depends where? It depends where. So I've had 3 buyers in the past couple of months who've offered on multiple offer situations within the first week, which is kind of it's a change from the past 12 months, 18 months. It kind of slowed down. You could take your time a little bit on most homes and kind of get a deal going. But yeah, I've seen it picking up as far as, and that's just with good inventory. I mean, there's still homes out there sitting, I think here especially, it's been, if a home needs work, it's tending to take a lot longer to sell, whereas the cute ones that are priced well are starting to move pretty quickly now.
Do you have the kind of seasonality? Like, is it slower in the winter time, like faster in the spring, summer?
Yeah, I mean, typically you're going to get late March into like late June is going to be a big pop. School's times start now in like early August here, so most people want to get in definitely before then. We get a little bit busy in kind of July, but obviously with July 4th and everything that goes on, most people are already settled in by then. We get a little pop kind of October, just before Thanksgiving, that little window, like 6-8 weeks. But again, yeah, once it hits like Thanksgiving, November, December, January, it's we'll knock out a couple deals here and there. But yeah, your predominant months are going to be kind of now to the middle of summer.
Interesting. So I again, like, don't really know enough about that market. And I think the average price point around here is like anywhere from like 350 to 400. If I had that budget in Dallas, what could I find?
Well, you'd have 2 options. You could either look for new homes kind of on the periphery. The problem with DFW now is like most of the main cities are all built out. Kind of when you start, because the metroplex is so big, and I don't think a lot of people realize how big it is until they actually get here. But anything kind of centrally around DFW Airport, anything on DFW Airport, and you're kind of moving out even towards Dallas, it's mostly built out. Some of the stuff started you've got the whole historic buildings in Dallas, which, you can go back to like the 1912s if you want. But the predominant cities of everything that was built in the kind of 70s and 80s, Flower Mound, where I'm located specifically, was kind of a lot of 90s builds. So if you want new, it's a lot of wider areas where they've got loads of land and they're just building endless amount of homes on. Some people are okay with that. Others don't want to be that far out. So if you want something still in the 350, 400, then it's going to be, older, probably needs some updates, probably around 1,700, 1,800 square feet, something like that.
That's interesting because that's like really similar to what we find here. We have the added difficulty of being right on the shore of Lake Michigan. So if you want to go out of the city, you can't go east because there's just water. So you really have to head kind of far west, kind of far north, kind of far south in order to even like entertain the idea of a new build. And new builds in our area, I think everyone just got this bug of like, it costs the same to build affordable as it does luxury construction. So we're really seeing like new builds starting at like 6, 7, 800,000 many times. So if you want to have that like 300 to 400, which is still like the average for like Milwaukee County, you have to get like a nice 80 to 100-year-old house, which I mean, many of these houses are built to last. They're nice, but they may lack a lot of niceties that you have from newer construction, whether it's updated electrical or just things like closet size.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah, I've taught a few down in Dallas, and they were built in kind of the 10s and 20s, and they've done all the updates to them, and even like the electrical and the plumbing side of it's all been taken care of. But the problem was the homes were designed back in the day for everyone was smaller, no one really needed as much space, so you have these like tiny bathrooms, tiny closets, not very open plan. So yeah, it's not kind of doesn't really fit what people are looking for in today's market.
Yeah. Speaking even like being physically smaller, like I'm 6'2", and I can't count how many times I go into a house where I'm in the basement and I just kind of have to duck my head just a little bit, or sometimes a lot. So if I have any client who's like my height or even close to it, that also affects what they can look at. So sometimes that knocks out some of these older homes just from the get-go, just because a cute Milwaukee bungalow has a 5'10" clearance in the basement. So you knock your head against the air conditioning duct every single time you do laundry.
Yeah.
All right, and just as finding your niche in the Dallas market, like who's the, you said you have a lot of people who are like relocating, but like who is your buyer that you talk to most? Like where are you finding most of your clients?
I mean, we do a fair amount of business just from pure sphere word of mouth. I mean, I think that's the best thing any agent can do, especially if they're starting out, trying to find leads in general in an area like DFW where there's just more, you can throw a rock and hit 5 agents. It's very difficult to find just niche leads that no one else is going to be calling. That's the problem with a lot of people we speak to, is when you do call people from lead services, they've already had 5, 6, 7 calls from other agents, and there are some good agents out there, but unfortunately for us, there's also sorry about that.
It's all good. So I'll acknowledge for anybody watching it. So I'll edit that out, but I'll acknowledge that you had to get up for a second to talk to somebody about your air conditioning unit. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Right. No, we're
having
a
major difference between Milwaukee and Dallas right there, is that like it's kind of warm today, but we're probably still another 60 days from being even able to turn on the air conditioning, let alone discover it's not working to have it serviced.
Yeah. No, we have a centrifuger thing that they use at the hotels, and you need to install it into the actual unit to like make it go around the house. So we've had it in the kitchen. Kitchen smells nice, but the rest of the house hasn't had the luxury. So the guy's coming out just to give us an AC service and also install that, because AC service in Dallas, if you don't take care of them, they will not last, and the heat gets pretty bad in the summer. So you need to make sure I've been a victim of a AC system not working in the middle of July, and never again.
It's funny because like if you could probably draw like a north-south line almost directly straight between where I am and where you are, but like I'm at the other end of the extremes. Like the winter is just like it can be extremely cold, 20, 10 negatives temperatures, but the summers are pretty mild, moderate, and so there's plenty of houses that I look at who don't maybe have a central air, or maybe just a window unit or something like that, but everything's got to have a furnace. And whereas I think maybe the opposite there, it's like they might have small heating units, but like they're not getting as overworked as much as the air conditioning.
Oh yeah, I just had a seller, and she kept telling me about how new the AC was and everything was great. So I was like, cool. Inspection comes around, and the inspector notes the furnace isn't fully, it needs to be a service, and it's kind of not operating as well as it should do. And I'm like, oh, she said it was all brand new. It should be okay. The furnace wasn't brand new. The furnace was original to the house, which was built in 1992. So Yeah. So you can tell how little they use the furnace because it's still, and they didn't even have to replace it. They just serviced it and it was all working well. So
35 years is pretty good for a furnace, though. But then again, it probably works a couple weeks a year.
oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. They get very little use. It's rare that I mean, we get February time. We usually get a bit of a freeze, but other than that, it's not too bad.
All right. Well, here's to nicer weather coming up, which makes it easier for us to have the necessary inspections and tests done, as well as just more pleasant to show homes when you actually have a little bit of daylight.
Yeah. Being able to go out past 5.
All right, David, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me about your experience there. I guess I'll just ask one more question here. So if you've got a client who's brand new to the area, and as you mentioned before, you got a lot of people who are moving in, what's something that you're telling them to prepare them for life in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
I often honestly recommend people to lease here first before they buy. I think that's a big one, especially if you're coming in from much further away. I know obviously that the paycheck's not going to be as great for us, but the sheer size of Dallas and the variance in all the cities, you can go from one city to the next. It's a completely different way of life. It can be very overwhelming for a lot of people moving here. So it can often be more beneficial for them in the long term just to rent a home somewhere that's going to be functional for them for their work or whatever it may be, and then kind of just get a real vibe for DFW, and then kind of make a decision on where they want to live. Because I've had a number of clients who we've helped lease initially when they've moved here, and then told me the year later, like, I'm glad we just leased because I really don't want to live in this city, or I need to be much closer to my work. Because I have people who are like, oh yeah, I'm only 20 miles from my office, but trying to get 20 miles in peak DFW traffic on a Friday afternoon,
it's an hour,
is horrible. Yeah. So that would be for anyone moving here, would always be my biggest advice is leasing. But yeah, the Metroplex is a lot bigger than you think it is. Even when you look at it on a map, it's huge, but it's just so, it took me years to really get used to driving around here and living around here, especially.
Okay. Awesome, David. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. And we'll look forward to talking to you more if I have more questions about what it's like to live in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.